not turn this camera. Close. Okay.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Respected Ravi sir, General Manager from Bharat Dynamics Limited. On behalf of Dr. Devanshu Patel, President, Parul University, Dr. M.N. Patel, Provost, Parul University, Dr. H.S. Vijay Kumar, Pro VC, I extend a hearty welcome to you on this session of being conducted for Parul University. Before I begin, I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude to Komodo Siddharth Mishra, who has been very kind to accept our request for conducting a webinar session on behalf for the Parul University students. So before I proceed, I would just like to introduce the speaker. We have a very interesting speaker today with a vast experience in his field, Mr. M. Ravi, who is also the General Manager of Bharat Dynamics Limited, who graduated as a mechanical engineer and further pursued his MBA in finance. He is also specialized in the integrated material management, and with a rich experience of over 3 decades, he has worked in various areas such as production, marketing, planning, and control material management. Today, with his vast experience, he will be sharing his views. But before I'll let him in to share his views, I would request Dr. M.N. Patel, sir, our provost, to kindly say a few words.
Namaskar and good afternoon to one and all. It's really a pleasure that the topic on which we are going to discuss today by the expert person, that Atmanirbhar in defense. No doubt, I welcome first the speaker that who has consented to be the part of that and to deliver the talk so that our student can be the benefited of it. Armed Force has also arranged this type of webinar, so I congratulate to Professor Sri Sharma ji so that we could have this type of very good seminar or webinar, we can say that. We have a number of webinar every day going on. We are calling the expert of various field, and today also we have got the person who is having the experience in the Atmanirbhar for the defense, rather machineries, we can say. As so far the purchase of or the budget of defense is concerned, we know that it is a sizable budget we are spending for that. And most of this budget we are spending for just purchasing the machinery or whatever the requirement from other countries. But nowadays, after the mission of Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think we should be Atmanirbhar in all areas. And in that connection, if defense is where the large budget is used, obviously we should produce our own. And we have seen that in several areas we are now producing. That is a need of our requirement. So I hope that today the speaker is going to give some good example and some of case study and some of the things as information which can be very useful to our inspired students to learn more about the defense. So my best wishes to you, and again, sir, I welcome you. Parul University is a very fast growing university. Since last 6 years, it is grown like anything. So I welcome you as the provost of the university to this webinar, and my best wishes to all participants that at the end of that, they are going to learn a lot. And that I think the question answer session may be there. And that also give you the whatever doubts or raise in your mind can be replied by our expert. So best wishes to all of you. Over to Sharma ji.
Thank you, sir. Ravi sir, may I request you to commence your proceedings, sir?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Your stand pipe clear, sir.
Yeah, and also visible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Commander Sanjay Sharma, for giving us this opportunity to BDL, as you have just now mentioned. And I represent the BDL, a company which is into a very specialized area of production. Now, before I start off my speech or whatever I started talking to you, I would also like to acknowledge Dr. M.N. Patel, Provost, Parul University, Dr. H.S. Vijay Kumar, Pro VC, Parul University, the principals of the various colleges under your Parul University, the heads of the departments, faculties, members, staff, and all the students and your friends. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many of you are joined into this webinar, but I expect that most of your colleges are covered under this webinar.
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. And I will now talk to you something about a very important subject that is the current buzzword in the entire industry and in India. The topic is Atmanirbharta. Now, this Atmanirbharta is a very big vision of the government of India. And in this particular, philosophy that the government is now coming up with, it covers all the spheres of the life, if you look at it. Now, I will be specifically you on the defense perspective, and that too from a defense manufacturer's perspective, how this Atmanirbhar philosophy has started off and how it is going to take shape, and what are the opportunities that the upcoming generation and the next generation who's going to get into all this kind of industries have in this field of defense production, and how much they can contribute to the defense industry to become a self-reliant country. So basically, it's a big it's a big opportunity that's been created now, and it all began. If I just go back a little bit to the history, how it all began. So I would like to spend some time on how the the defense R&D and how the production started off in the early years. As most of you are aware that DRDO is the current the production, the defense research and development organization, which handles all the designs and the development of new products in the country for defense. Now, this was somewhere in around 1958 or 1960, around that time. In fact, 1958, it was formed as DRDO, and it started off by developing new kinds of technologies and new kinds of products for the Indian defense industry. Now, a point of time came wherein after the DRDO was formed, it was found that there is no production base in the country where defense products can be manufactured. At that point of time, we didn't have much of a scope for design or development to come out in the the strength at which today we are. So at that point of time, it was felt that the first requirement was to set up production bases in the country, which can start manufacturing defense equipment with foreign technologies. So one big area which came up was like I again go back to my parent company, that is BDL. Now, Bharat Dynamics Limited was visualized to be formed, and it was brought into existence in 1970. That means after 12 years of DRDO started working, the concept came in that we need a production base for manufacturing of missiles in the country. So with that prima facie requirement, the Bharat Dynamics Limited was instituted, and then a company came into existence. Now, at this point of time, the design and the development part was going on, but it didn't take a big shape like what it is today. So initial phases, what happened is we were trying to work with foreign collaborations, foreign OEMs from Russia or France or any other country, and then we started producing those products in India. Now, if you look at BDL, we started off with a Russian collaboration, we started off with a French collaboration, and we started manufacturing missiles in the country. So at this point of time, the focus was mainly on production and bringing in the technology from outside and start manufacturing. So this also was the first few steps towards becoming self-reliant, the Atmanirbhar concept. And then we started working on this programs. Many other companies also started being formed. Now, various, government felt that we need a lot of defense public sector undertakings to come in, because the infrastructure that has to be created for such a kind of a product, which is very big in the defense, if you look at the defense market, the infrastructure required to manufacture such defense equipments are very huge. So initially, the public sectors were formed to build up the infrastructure and start manufacturing these products for the Indian Armed Forces. Parallelly, DRDO started developing its own products. We started getting into design. And another major step that came up when you specifically look at the missile field was in the mid of 1980s, when the government of India felt that we should have a program wherein we start designing our own missile systems itself. So this was a major step towards creating a area or an thought process within the country that we need to have an indigenously developed weapon system. And this, most of you must be aware that this is a very big program that came up. It's called Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. Now, as part of IGMDP, they have started identifying various missiles, like the current programs that you have seen, Akash or the Nag missiles, which are now being test flown, and Akash, which has gone into production. So these was a major step in the mid 80s and towards the end of 80s. And in this program, the focus switched over from not only production in India, we started thinking about serious business of designing, developing, and manufacturing in India with the maximized indigenous content. Now, why we were talking about indigenization to be a maximum, within all these programs is that our dependence on the foreign OEMs or on the foreign vendors we wanted to reduce, because in such quite some time back we were a big importer of weapon systems in the defense market, but we wanted to move over from being an importer to become a totally self-sufficient as well as an exporter. And today I am very happy to inform that today is a state wherein our products are being offered in the world market for export. So we have moved from being a totally an importer to become an exporter also. So moving back to the same subject which I was talking about, now the design and development became a focus of our defense industry and the R&D teams also. DRDO started focusing on more on indigenization, more on developing new technologies within the country, and wherever there was a gap, there were certain items which needed to be imported. Yes, those were being imported to some extent, but the percentage of import was trying to be minimized at this stage of when in the 80s and 90s. And slowly we started producing these missiles in India, and which helped the entire defense industry in the country to start growing along with this, along with the DRDO. The defense research went on. Parallelly, the industry started, like the DPSU started working on, and also private industry started getting into this business of manufacturing defense goods in India, because the future of business, if you look at it as a business opportunity, the private industries identified this as a very big opportunity available to expand their business and get into the defense industry market. So we had a lot of private industries beginning to come into this particular sector, which is a very specialized sector, which also there is a requirement of lot of investment into infrastructure. The gestation period of each project was very large, because it had to go to various trials, testing, validation before it is finally inducted into the armed forces. So for all defense procurements, the cycle time was very high. So the industry which could sustain, or which found that there is a lot of business opportunity by investing and waiting for the gestation period to be over, such companies started getting into the defense sector, in addition to the defense public sectors and the ordnance factory boards. So this was a very big transition stage, wherein the concept of Make in India, this led to the concept of Make in India by our own design and our own developed products. So the focus then started off to become an amalgamation of not only manufacturing, but the design, the development, the creating a vendor base. So a lot of vendors have started getting involved, like the MSMEs. For example, we have a lot of MSMEs with the defense industry today, and the MSMEs have been a part of the entire defense industry programs. Wherever we go, whichever company it is associated, whichever program, there have been a lot of vendors who are full-fledged into this kind of a production. Then this amalgamation started yielding more new products to the Indian Armed Forces, and Indian Armed Forces could then think about buying equipments or defense material. It just doesn't mean equipment; it could also mean a defense requirement of clothing in the high altitude areas, vehicles, high terrain bridges. A lot of things were there in the defense industry, which the private as well as the defense units and Government of India undertakings were able to manufacture and supply. And Army, Air Force and Navy started looking at more of the Indian industry for these kind of products. Earlier, they were more looking in towards the foreign countries for anything that has to be imported or anything that is required. They were more trying to depend on the foreign sources. But then there was a shift in the entire thought process, and the armed forces started looking at all the industries in the country for meeting their immediate requirements. But of course, there was still a gap because technology gaps were there. That there were a lot of things which the latest technology which was available in the world market was not available in India by its own, developed by us. So there was a period of transition again. It went on. We had a lot of new projects coming up. We had new technologies being developed, and these technologies were in par with the world products or world, whatever technologies were available in the world. But wherever there was a minor gap or a gap was found that this particular technology is not available, we were still depending on the foreign OEM or a foreign technology partner to fill up that gap, so that ultimately the product remains an indigenous product, but few of those components, or you say a subsystem or a particular part of the missile or whatever defense equipment you're going to procure was definitely from the imported source. So this was the mix at which we were in the 2010, 2000, last 10, 15 years. That was kind of the mix that we were working on in the defense industry to support the Indian Armed Forces. Then the thought process came of what we are now discussing today's subject of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, this was a big philosophy that came out saying that Atmanirbhar Bharat is a requirement of the day, so that the industry will be able to provide the latest equipment to the Indian Armed Forces, and a stage should come wherein armed forces will look at buying this first from Indian defense industry, and not look for a same product or a similar product from the foreign market. So this vision of the government of India was initiated, and policy announcements were made on Atmanirbhar Bharat. And based on this, certain things that I would like to talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat is that there was this one important thing that has been announced, is that your procurement by the armed forces will now be restricted into a part being from the foreign OEMs, a part or a major share coming to the Indian market, which means the Indian industry now today is assured of a big business from the armed forces based on their long-term perspective plan of what all the items they require, what can be delivered by the Indian industry in association with the DRDO or the other developmental agencies, and the balance only will be procured from abroad. So this particular, the dictate which has come out in form of two lists which have been published. Now, the first list was for a list of, most of you must be aware that a 101 items list has come out, released by the Honorable Raksha Mantri, wherein these items which have been listed out in that will not be imported in a phased manner starting from this year till 2025. After 2025, these items, these weapons or tanks or missiles, so many lists, it's a listed out items there. This will not be procured from foreign, but it will be definitely purchased from the Indian vendor or the Indian defense industry. Now, how this confidence has come in, they have seen that these products are developed by DRDO or by another developmental agencies. These have come into production, and the industry will be able to deliver this progressively by end of 2025 in a phased manner. So these items have been listed out for not to be imported after this phased plan of up to 2025. Subsequently, immediately another list has come out which says 108 items. So you can imagine the kind of thrust that the government of India is giving out, that within a span of 3-4 months or 5 months, two lists have come out. We're totaling around 209 items, which will be exclusively procured by the Indian Armed Forces from the Indian industry. And mind you, these items are very critical items for operational requirements of the Indian Armed Forces. It is not that it is a small portion of the requirement. Major items, like if you look at missiles, you have air-to-air missiles, you have surface-to-air missiles, you have anti-tank systems. So a lot of things which are critical for operational requirement of the armed forces are also being now earmarked for the Indian defense industry, and this will not be procured from foreign OEMs. Certain items, now this list is getting updated every year. So as and when the new items get developed, when an industry is able to prove that a new item is available for the Indian Armed Forces, those items also get listed out. So this is a very important aspect that Atmanirbhar Bharat has created for the defense industry. And as an industry partner, as an from the industry perspective, if you look, this is a very big opportunity because we are assured of a big business, and we are assured that this particular product, once I have proven and once it comes into the list, I have a business of getting the orders from the Indian Armed Forces for this much of quantity. But these quantities are also known to us. So I mean, this is a big boost that the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme has given to the industry, if you look at. Now, another important aspect of Atmanirbhar Bharat has been the indigenization philosophy, which was carried over the years. But now the indigenization philosophy has been little more elaborated and more expanded, if you look at it. Now, earlier it was that you have a technology outside from a foreign OEM, you bring it to India, and you manufacture it here. So that was one of the stages of indigenization. But today's indigenization, what we speak about is we get the technology developed in India by our developmental agencies or DRDO, and those technologies developed in India should become a base or an input for the industry to manufacture and supply the equipment. So here is the difference from the earlier philosophies to the Atmanirbhar Bharat philosophy, wherein we are also looking at not only reducing the technology gap between Indian defense products and the technology available in India and the foreign technology, but we are also trying to get that technology which is right now not available in India, developed in India by its own developmental agencies and put into production. And those systems we offer to the armed forces. So this is a very important concept that the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative is now looking at from the industry. Now, how do the industry cope up to this, or how the developmental agencies will cope up to this kind of a requirement is that you will have to, there are a lot of technology problems being identified. Now, if you look at the industrial requirement, the defense requirements, a lot of technology problem statements are defined. Now, then these problem statements are offered to the industry. Now, a developmental agency can work on this program. These are all in addition to what DRDO is doing. I would like to say that the programs that DRDO is doing is continuing. The way they are expanding their research, the way their development activity is going on is enormous, I would say, and perhaps the best today in the world, if you look at it. And their technologies are in par with anything that you can see in the world. But in addition to that, the developmental agencies in the industry side also, and the R&D units which are available, like the public sectors themselves are trying to do some R&D work. The private industry is trying to do some R&D work. These kind of developmental agencies are also being promoted by Government of India to understand this problem definition of what is the requirement of the technology wise, and then develop a product, offer it to the armed forces, and once the armed forces finds it that it can be used in the production, an order is assured. So this is a next important factor that Atmanirbhar Bharat has opened for all of us. And as part of this technology problem statement, we were earlier the encouragement to the industry was to become profusely, it has to increase. That was the thought process. So this Atmanirbhar initiative is also helping to innovate and do more of R&D. So if you have an innovation product by yourself, even if a problem statement has not been given, if you find a innovation, a new product that can be innovatively developed by you, you feel it is useful for the armed forces, that also can be brought out. And government is supporting and in fact incentivizing all these kind of innovative products that are being offered by the industry partners, the development agencies, and all this. Now, in addition to this, if you look at the government level, again, we have a setup called IDEX, Innovation for Defense Excellence. Now, this is also a body which is promoting startups and new companies to come forward and then give their own, again, the same thing. You have a definition of problem statements, you come out with a solution, and a lot of encouragement is given by the government under this IDEX scheme. There are some IDEX challenges which are being offered. IDEX challenge 1 was over, I think second is also over now. So there is a lot of thrust on young entrepreneurs, innovators who can come forward. And the government of India and the Ministry of Defense is ready to encourage all such kind of startups which are going to come up, and anything that is, has a potential is definitely going to be converted into a business opportunity, and that particular industry will definitely get its due weightage once this product is developed. Now, looking at DRDO side also, as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat, expansion of this whole program, they also have a program called Technology Development Fund. Now, this TDF again is available on its site. Anybody can access that. Now, in this also, they have earmarked some amount. I think it's around 100 crores or something is allotted for it, out of which, if a project is identified by a new industry or an innovative company, and you want to get into that TDF scheme, they have certain identified programs. If any of the company is interested to get into that kind of a scheme, they can also get funded up to 90%, depending on the program and how it is, depending on what is being offered by the industry and the startup company. Then the Atmanirbhar policy has also created an opportunity wherein, the defense public sectors and the private industry are now tying up together to work for new programs, like it's called public-private participation. So earlier it was that, the public was only, or the public sector was working, the private industry was working, there was not much of an joint development or joint supplies. But today the emphasis has become so much that most of the public sectors and the private industries, if you look at any part of the defense thing, is tied up. And we have a lot of programs wherein jointly we are bidding for those programs, participating in the programs, and also delivering systems. And this is not only to the Indian market, let me tell you, to the foreign market also this model is being adopted. Like, BDL, for example, we have done such a model. We have been exporting certain products to the foreign market. So the public-private participation and a synergy between these industries has now increased multifold. And the entire backdrop of the whole activity is Atmanirbhar Bharat, because this is the entire requirement of the government, the country, and we would like to see a self-reliant India as far as all the spheres are concerned, but more specifically defense, because defense is a fast-growing area of a sector, and the technologies are upgraded across the world in a very, very short period. And we need to go on upgrading ourselves. Our products need to be upgraded. We have a lot of issues at the borders, as most of you are aware. So we need to have a very big, robust land, air, and naval system in place with the latest of the technologies available in the world. So we cannot take the chance with the defense thing, but at the same time, we are trying to balance it out with having a self-reliant production entities in the country, so that where necessary only the import of an equipment is done. Now, generally the import is done when you have a short time gap. The product that has been, the equivalent product that is being developed in India, we understand may take some more time, and there is an operational necessity. So at such kind of a scenario, armed forces definitely gets into a mode of buying it from, it's called buy global. So they do buy that. But the focus and the thrust at which the government and the industry is moving forward, along with the customer, that's Indian Armed Forces, we feel in a very short period, we will be totally self-reliant, and we will be able to supply anything that and everything that the Indian Armed Forces would like to have from the Indian industry. Again, I speak not only on my products, that is my BDL products, but the entire defense industry, from the clothing to the warfare, to the trucks, the trailers, the bridge, everything will be supplied in-house. And for this, government is giving a lot of incentives, and there is a thrust that we should start seeing in a phased manner the indigenization of the technology also, not only manufacturing, the technology part also should become within the country. Now, moving on, the other aspect of Atmanirbhar was on R&D. Now, all industries have been mandated, specifically if you look at the defense public sector undertakings also, we have been mandated to have a, increase our R&D efforts. And we have started doing that because with our industry experience of production and with the interaction that we had with the customers, we would also always see there are certain areas where we need to have a development of the product. Now, these kind of products, when we have to develop, the R&D divisions of the respective public sector units are always working on upgrading the existing products, or maybe an offer a similar product which the customer wants. And this also is being given a big thrust under this Atmanirbhar scheme from the government of India. In addition to this, as you are aware that all the state governments have created the hubs for new entrepreneurs to come in, and the BDL also, our company is also in tie-up with the Telangana state hub for identifying new companies, wherein we are signing MOUs with them, we are encouraging them, we are financially supporting them to start working on new programs. Like artificial intelligence is a new area wherein there's a lot of thrust, and the next generation weapons, if you look at BDL weapons specifically, the artificial intelligence is going to be an integral part of all the weapon systems. So we are working on a lot of artificial intelligence based products, upgrading the existing one, getting a new product to be manufactured, and so on. So this is about R&D. Then I would also like to talk to you about the testing schemes that have been announced. Now, under the Atmanirbhar policy, again, government is looking at, creating a lot of, testing infrastructure in the country. Now, wherever there was an industry which was trying to supply defense goods, they were sometimes stuck because of not availability of a testing facility, because every testing facility cannot be procured by the industry alone because a lot of investment involved. So in the process, the government also thought that let us come out with a scheme which is just announced. Now it's getting implemented now. It's called Defense Testing Infrastructure Scheme, DTIS. Now under this, they're ready to fund up to 75%. But the requirement is that you have to have a group of consortium of 5 companies, and you establish a infrastructural facility in any part of the country on specific testing requirements of the aerospace and defense companies. See, they for example, you have EMI/EMC, or you have a raw material testing, or you have a flight simulation testing to be done. So different areas have been identified, and government is ready to encourage such kind of a scheme which can be established in the country. So that is another area of thrust on the Atmanirbhar schemes when you look at it. Now, this is one part. If I tell you, this is one part of the entire story. Now, the Atmanirbhar policy, when it came out, initiated by the Honorable Prime Minister and then announced, the policies announced, the buzzword was vocal for local. That's how it was told. That means let us be vocal when we are talking about the local products, but also make it in India, made for the world. It doesn't mean that we are only going to make for our own consumption, captive consumption. No, our products should be made in India, but this should also be competitive as far as the entire world is concerned, and we should be able to export. So as part of this entire concept of Atmanirbhar, we are also looking at a potential export market for all our defense goods. And that is why the government of India has set up an ambitious target of US dollars 35,000 crores in the next 5 years for exports alone. And all public sectors have been also working towards this, and we have been mandated that we should start working on this. A lot of private industries are already exporting defense goods to the various countries, But the entire percentage, if you look at the entire export from India, was very less. So the thrust has come now under this initiative of Atmanirbhar that we should start exporting our products abroad. And this has also been planned in such a way that the industry gets a lot of benefit. Now, how do I get the benefit? I am, ease of doing business is one, announcement that has been made, and that is the easiest. How do you handle a business transaction? If I have to export or if I have to approach the government for clearances, how quickly do I get it? How much do I have to run? Now, if you look at the current policies and the current authorizations given, it's the entire process has been simplified. Now, the export authorization policies have been simplified to such an extent that we can quickly deliver. If you have the product with you, getting an authorization for export is very simple. And the government is coming out with a new policy. It's already come, the draft has already come in the DPEP. The production export promotion policy is already coming out, and wherein there's a lot of thrust on export. Produce in India, export to the world market. Now, so the export, if you look at it, if I have to refer to BDL, my own products, earlier, not all, being a sensitive equipment, what we are manufacturing, we were not able to export it abroad. But the current thought process and the current government's directives has opened up that we are able to look at exporting our weapon system itself. So that's a big change if you look at. So it is not only manufacturing in India, Atmanirbhar becoming self-reliant in India for the Indian Armed Forces, but also manufacturing the same weapon systems for the export market. So with that in mind, we have also been able to start looking at the world market for products like ours, and happy to note that a lot of leads which are being received, people are showing a lot of interest in our products, and we are becoming one of those world players when you look at weapon systems for exports. Then if you another area now, what has this all helped us? If you look at it, the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat, once it has been announced and the policies have come in place, the foreign OEMs have also started realizing that there's a lot of potential in this country. And earlier, the number of OEMs, if you look at, say, 20 years or 30 years back, a lot of OEMs who did not really want to come and invest in India. They were always thinking of how do we sell their products in India, get an Indian market for selling their products, but never they were very serious about investing in India by way of technology or by way of an infrastructure development. But with this kind of an Atmanirbhar initiative which has come in, and the self-reliance policies that the government has released, now a lot of OEMs have started showing interest, and they are now talking to almost every defense industry in the country, the big industries, for tying up for a collaborative project wherein they are ready even to transfer the technology to India, which was never there earlier. So this is a big change from, if you look at it, how India has grown up now as a big defense manufacturing hub. So, this is a very important point that has been created among the foreign OEMs also. And foreign OEMs are now ready to not only transfer the technology, they're ready to invest in India, work with the Indian industry for manufacturing on a long-term basis. And the next bigger step, manufacture in India and use it for export against their own orders that they get from the foreign countries. So that is the kind of confidence that the Indian defense industry, the Atmanirbhar initiative which has come in, and the policies of the government has created in the world market. And this, I'm sure, over the years, once these things materializes, there's going to be a lot of change in the entire defense industry of the country. And if you look at today's defense industry, you have major players. Any major company in the private industry is also into defense. Most of you are aware, L&T is into it, Reliance is into it, Mahindra Defense, Adani. A lot of companies which have come into private industry, which has come into the defense sector, plus a lot of MSMEs. I'm not able to exactly recollect, but I think some around 4,000 or 5,000 MSMEs are there already into the defense industry sector, and many more are being brought in. And as my own company, BDL, we have 1,200 to 1,300 plus MSMEs within our supply chain ecosystem, which are into manufacturing these kind of products across our programs. It's not that it's only a specific program. Even if it's a Russian collaboration program or an indigenous DRDO program or anything, they are there. So that kind of a vendor base for the Indian industry be created because of Atmanirbhar Bharat policies and initiatives of the government, ease of doing business, simplified process of procurement. And there's a new policy which has come in, DPP. Earlier it was called Defense Procurement Policy of 2016, which has been now revised to Defense Acquisition Policy of 2020. If you look through that, you'll find a lot of focus is on indigenously designed, developed and manufactured products. Now, this is the focus. Entire focus has come to it to ultimately create India as a manufacturing hub, defense manufacturing hub. And if you look at the Def Expo that has been announced now, 11 to 13 March, it is going to be in your state of Gandhinagar. It's in Gandhinagar, 11 to 13th March at Def Expo 2020. Now, their theme is also the same thing: India, a defense manufacturing hub. So I think the entire focus is now shifted to becoming local as well as start supplying to the global market. So I think I covered most of my points that I had noted down. There is two more points which I would like to tell you is that DRDO also, if you look at, there are a lot of programs that DRDO has come in. Skill India, it is called, Startup India. You have, Make in India is anyway there right from beginning. So DRDO is also working on a lot of programs wherein they want to encourage young talent to come out. Not only as an manufacturing center, as a industry, but also to put in their technical know-how and help in developing new technologies. So a lot of potential exists even in the design and development activity. In addition to the defense industry, that the young generation who is going to come out of the colleges will have a lot of opportunity here. And if you look at government, from the government angle, there is a big portal which has been created. It's called Srijan portal. Now, a lot of items which has to be indigenized are put on this portal by all the companies. So anybody would like to, any entrepreneur would like to start working on those programs, they can definitely look into that portal and then start, proposing. It's from different companies. So if it's from, say, if it's from my company that an item has been put across, that entrepreneur can contact us and we will be guiding them on how to go about it. So a lot of emphasis on this kind of activity also. So in the nutshell, because my time is also, I think you've just told me 1 hour. So in the nutshell, if you look at it, what I would like to say that the Atmanirbhar philosophy of the government is a very big philosophy. It covers a lot of entire sphere of activities, not only defense, but today when I'm talking about defense, I focus on defense. And I'm sure this will touch every part of our lives on a daily basis. There's a lot of opportunity created, not only for the current industry, but for the next generation of industries which are going to come up. The young talent who's going to come into the industry or start working. I think there's a lot of business opportunity available, and they can also contribute to become to make India a very self-reliant country in defense for its own needs as well as for the world market. Thank you so much. I hope I could say a few words which came to my thought in my thought process, which I thought I'll share with you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Any interaction, anything anybody would like to ask? To the best of my ability, I will try to respond. Thank you so much. Over to you, Commander.
So, sir, in fact, thank you very much for this big and the lively intersection. Has probably a lot of insight into what make India has to a nation in its sense, improving our caliber and showing to the world, yes, we are. I am me being for the armed forces since we've been manufacturing for the armed forces. Are truly grateful to the.
Your voice is not audible.
Yes, sir. There
I
is
think
some issue.
maybe some issue,
Mm.
internet issue. We maybe rejoin immediately. Sir, myself Bhavesh Mewada.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a principal of this Paro Institute of Technology.
Okay.
And with the help of Commander Sanjay sir, we could at least invite you. And it
Thank you
was
so
a
much.
really, I say, thanks a lot for your sharing your knowledge. Means exposure, giving exposure about this Atmanirbhar policy. It's really wonderful philosophy started by our Honorable Prime Minister. And being a company which is in the field of defense. So today we got a lot of insight about this field. And I think all mechanical engineers may be eligible for this defense technology. At present,
Yes.
the way you are appointing, I think mechanical engineers are eligible.
No, it's actually not only mechanical engineers. We take in a lot of, in fact, the electronics, mechanical, almost every sphere of branch of engineering can get into it. So we have a lot of opportunity, not only in BDL. If you look at the entire defense industry itself, you have a lot of requirement of mechanical, electronics, IT, because now a lot of IT things are also getting into it. So any branch, it's not that,
Okay, so can we have a MOU? Because
Oh,
we
why
have
not? Why not? We can, that of course we'll have to work out separately and then discuss on how this
No,
will be done.
definitely will work out. So because we have almost all the branch, we have the computer science specialized in cyber security, artificial intelligence, IoT. Now our electronic students are doing very good projects in IoT as well. So we have almost all the branch related to the defense. And we are another one question I would like to ask. How to approach?
Before you complete, sorry to interrupt you. When you spoke about MOU, if you're looking at working on projects with BDL,
yeah,
are you looking at that kind of? Yes, that we can always discuss.
Yeah.
And how do we work on such areas where we have a problem statement? We could offer it to you as an academia. You could suggest how to come out with a solution. Yes, that we can definitely think over it.
Because we have final year students as well as master's program, 1 year full dissertation we allow them.
So, we can discuss that.
The student can dedicatedly work on your problem statement.
Yeah, we can look at that. We can look at that as an academic project.
Yeah, academic projects. Yes.
Yeah, that we can look at it. We will have to work out. We'll have to work out the nitty-gritties as per the framework of the public sector undertaking. Okay, that we will look at.
We have to maintain the secrecy, everything, and based on that.
That is obvious. And other requirements of the public sector undertaking, we have certain rules and all that we will see. We'll definitely work on that. Yeah.
And that is a good, because definitely we'll be in touch with you regarding that. One more question is DRDO. What is the procedure? Suppose you want to tie up with DRDO, our institute. So can you help us in that way?
Yeah, actually, if you're looking at Technology Development Fund, for example, you have your directly, if you go into the site of DRDO, you have a TDF option. Now there they have mentioned whom to approach.
Okay, sir.
So you can straight away get in touch with them. Yeah. Now if you're looking for a tie-up with DRDO as an academia, what I understand is DRDO, it's a different entity. It doesn't come under BDL. It's a different entity by itself. So defense establishment, we are a public sector. So what I understand is DRDO has got its own tie-ups with a lot of IITs, a lot of technology IIS. Yeah, they have a lot of tie-ups. So maybe if you approach them, they will also consider this particular aspect, because they are looking for various academic institutions and universities to get tied up for various programs, because they're not looking only at missile or something. They've got materials, they have got vehicles, a lot of things are there in there. There's around 50 companies, 50 establishments under DRDO. Getting into where, like you have HMR for explosives, you have ARD, a lot of companies are in the establishments are there. So depending on your requirement, they will be able to tie you up with that. That can,
Recently, one IIT has announced that MTech in defense.
yeah, you can access the DRDO site and check.
Yeah,
In case you
definitely.
still find an issue,
Yeah,
I mean, if you're not able to really get an identity, please contact me. I will try to get you the link.
yes.
Then you
Thanks,
can take off. Then you can take off.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot. And sir, one thing you mentioned about one portal. One portal has been published where your company is also putting some. What is the
Srijan is called SRIJAN.
AAN? Okay.
SRIJAN.
Okay.
It's a government Ministry of Defense portal wherein all industries are putting up their products which have to be indigenized.
Yeah.
So all public sectors and ordnance factories putting those items in that portal. So industries can access that and give a proposal whether they can indigenize it. Of course, it goes through the usual validation process and all that things.
Yes.
That is subsequent.
You have to qualify for that requirement and everything. Definitely. So once again, thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you so much.
From my end, okay. Please, sir. Sanjay, sir.
Yes, so in fact, sorry, my internet got interrupted. It's a Murphy's Law, and I just couldn't help it out. I would just, on behalf of Parul University, I would request and extend a sincere thanks to all Bharat Dynamics Limited, and especially to you also for sharing your valuable time, making this presentation, a session such interesting, giving an insight to all the students. And I'm sure a lot of students would have got motivated and would have got a lot of queries, which they will be asking us, and probably if required, if time permits, we shall post them to you to get the queries clarified with regard to entrepreneurship, because we all know that today's student is tomorrow's future. And the today's generation, which has got so much of excess of technology, whether it is in terms of electronics or AI or whatever it is, their contribution towards nation development will be very commendable. And
Yes.
it's, I think, the right subject that you spoke upon, the right subject that we chose upon to give them the right direction. And I'm sure a lot of students would pursue a career and move into this field of making India an Atmanirbhar Bharat, and not only making our nation proud, but also making the world proud, our nation proud in the world map with regard to defense or any research or whatever is concerned. And I would also request, in fact, if probably, I mean, if we can also have this thing, some sort of a detail as to how a student can contribute, because we have a lot of inquisitive students. I mean, this generation is quite inquisitive. They also want to know, so how can I join this field? How can I contribute to these fields? So probably if you can just have a minute and share this view, sir.
See, the process of contributing to the entire Indian defense industry, if you look at it broadly, there are 2-3 ways. One, if you look at graduating from your university as an engineer, you come out,
Yes,
you
sir.
try to get into a public sector, or you work try to join the DRDO, because there are regular placements which are happening there. So this is one way of getting into a area or a technology driven industry or an establishment. That's one way, because a lot of recruitment happening almost every year. DRDO also recruits, BDL also recruits, but not en masse, in few numbers. So that is one way of getting into this industry. The second idea would be to create a startup company, an incubator company under your university. Also, I've read in your site that there are a lot of incubator companies in your this thing also. So such companies can get in touch with, as I've told you, the Technology Development Fund or the IDEX, or through the indigenization that we are proposing, or new items if they have anything which they can offer. They can come out with suo motu proposals, and those suo motu proposals are being considered. So if they want to go, connect to IDEX, the head office is in Delhi. So we can give them the details. They can start interacting at that level. If you're working on this region portal and you want to get those indigenization of items done, the respective company which has advertised or published that particular item is mentioned in the portal. So you can contact that company. You have a nodal indigenization officer in that portal to whom he can get connected and start working on that. Now, this apart, if he already wants to, he's already got an industry, somebody who's already got an industry, wants to diversify on or come into this, yes, most welcome. They can come out with some proposal. Basically, it should be an idea from them, if it is a company like that, what they would like to get into. Because as I was telling you, the defense industry is very vast. If you look at BDL or L&T or Bharat Electronics, Ordnance Factory, There are a lot of things which are being manufactured: guns, motors, vessels, ships. So many things are being done: submarines, launchers, torpedoes, missiles. So the area of interest of the particular entrepreneur is very important. Now, if you are getting into a company, or you are getting into a DRDO as an employment on an employment basis, yes, you don't have to think much. But if you're starting as an entrepreneur, you should really understand what is your area of interest, whether you would like to focus on particular product or a further technology, or you want to be in radars, you want to be in RF, you want to be in artificial intelligence. That mindset, if it's there, I mean, if you have an idea, at least it should not be an extensive thought process, but at least the area of interest, if it's identified, then you can think of the related projects. So then you can approach us or the DRDO or the IDEX, as I told you, where they will also support you with new ideas, how to develop on your basic thought process. And as you were telling, it's a continuous interaction that is required. If I am to tell you right now, it's very difficult. So with a continuous interaction, yes, the entire scope can be defined to the individual, whomsoever wants to get into it. Over to you, Kamal.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. In fact, it was indeed a pleasure to have being heard. To hear from, I would literally say, from the horse's mouth. It's been a very interactive session, a very fruitful session. And before I conclude, I would also like to thank the Parul University, the technical cell, which has been kind enough to allot us the slot and for the uninterrupted session that we had. And to you, sir, Ravi sir, for having such an informative session. I would request Dr. M.N. Patel, sir, Provost, sir, to conclude his remarks.
Yeah, I would thank the Parul University for the entire proceedings of today. It was my privilege to be here with you. In fact, to a big audience like this of a university, we never used to have. We used to have an individual college or a industry with us. So the first time we are addressing a big group of colleges. So thank you to the management of Parul University for giving us this opportunity, and to me as a on my personal behalf, and to BDL. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raviji. It's really a pleasure for us to be the part of this type of webinar. As you know that the Parul University, where more than 30,000 students are studying, we are spread over a 200 acre of land, and we have about 1,500 plus students from 56 foreign nations. And altogether, there is no state is left out whose student is not studying in this. We have 21 different faculty, and altogether we are having a different cell in order to make a overall development of the student, all-round development. And that's why our so many activity in a day are going on. And being a people like you, when you are throwing some light, which also open some of the new doors, especially we have armed force, where student we are training for the defense and other activities. So really, it's a pleasure for us, and we feel proud that you have given a talk, very excellent things. I have also heard that, and in future also, whenever if required, I think you will not say no to us, and our student will get benefited. Everything we are putting on the live stream, so thousands of students at a time, they are rather viewing that. That exact number we can also pass on with that, how many people have joined in these programs. So thank you very much, sir, for being the part of this webinar, and hope so that our students are beneficiary of all this talk. Thank you very much. Over to Sharma ji.
Thank you very much, sir, for the kind words, sir. It is indeed a pleasure. And before we conclude, sir, once again, I would like to thank BDL, Bharat Dynamics Limited, Commodore Siddharth Mishra, the CMD, and to you, Ravi, sir, for having such an excellent session. And we do wish Bharat Dynamics to keep the Indian national flag flying high. We wish them all success, happiness, and prosperity, and let at the name of our nation fly high. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Dhanyawad.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.